Insight on AllNews Nigeria TV, and I'm your host, Praise Ganiyu. And here's Insight is where we talk about any trending issue from any sector. And of course, a lot has happened during the week. So guys, let's take a look at the trending issues for this week. Federal government to shut Third Mainland Bridge for 6 months. Christian Association of Nigeria can angry over continued closure of religious centers. Governor of Zamfara pledges to eradicate banditry and donate 200 patrol vehicles. Ondo Assembly serves Deputy Governor impeachment notice. Presidency suspends acting Efcc chairman following the allegations of corruption on him. And guys, that is what we are going to be talking about today. And as always, I'm not here alone. I have with me Barrister Sam. Barrister Sam, thank you for joining us again today. Thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I'm good.
How does it feel to be back again on the show?
It's always a good feeling to appear on AllNews, and I like coming around here. I like speaking on political issues and legal issues on AllNews.
Thank you once again for joining us on the show, Barrister Sam. All right, so let's go. Let's get right into the issue we're going to be discussing today. You know, looking at the Magu issue, the Ibrahim Magu issue, the EFCC boss. You know, EFCC is of course and obviously an anti-corruption agency, and now the boss himself has been accused of, it's still allegations of corruption and all of that. So that is what we want to talk about today, because it's a very disturbing issue, and I'm sure Nigerians want answers to all of their questions. So my first question is, looking at the arrest of the EFCC boss Ibrahim Magu, what does this mean to Nigeria's fight against corruption?
Well, it's a sad day. It's a sad testament to the fact that the head of the anti-corruption agency, as prominent as the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, is being indicted or is being associated with corruption. And the figures coming out are so humongous, and you begin to wonder why would the head of an anti-corruption agency like the EFCC be indicted or be associated with such malfeasance. It's not something to be happy about. It's a sad day for Nigeria. Also, owing to the fact that recently a fraudster, an internet fraudster known as Hush Puppy, whose real name is Raymond Abbas, has been held and extradited to the United States of America for corruption. And the international communities, their eyes is on Nigeria, and to realize that the agency that is saddled with chasing corrupt elements, the head of it is also corrupt. It's a sad day. It's not something to be happy about. And I think that it behooves on the president that despite the fact that there have been outcry owing to the integrity of Magu, he still kept him on as the head of the EFCC, which shows that the president is also indulged Mr. Magu. But all in all, it's not something that any Nigerian should be proud of, because that the office holder should be beyond board. It should not be seen or heard or even be associated with any corrupt element.
All right, thank you so much for the answer. So moving on to the next question. Do you think his arrest was long overdue? Because it could be recalled in 2016 that the Senate actually rejected his nomination as the acting chairman of EFCC. So does it mean that the Senate actually knows something that we don't know? And why could they have rejected his nomination back in 2016, and now that he's arrested for there are allegations on him for corruption? So what does this mean? Does it mean that his arrest was actually long overdue?
Of course, the DSS report held by then the former DSS DG, Mr. Lawal Dora, who sent a damning report against Mr. Magu. The Senate headed by Bukola, the 8th Senate headed by Bukola Saraki, refused to confirm Magu on the premise of that indicting report. Of course, some of us who shouted, who screamed to high heaven and said that Magu is not fit to hold such position. But nevertheless, the president ignored all the outcry, went ahead and allowed Magu to still act. It's on record that Magu is the person who has the record of not being confirmed for up to 3 years, or more than 4 years, of course, more than 4 years of him acting as the acting head of the EFCC. So the 8th Senate did what they ought to do, but the president, in his wisdom, or rather in his folly, declined to remove Magu. He's not fit and proper to hold such positions. But of course, all said and done, it's good now that the Attorney General did the needful, took the bull by the horns, and they had to do what they had to do. And Magu Magu has to be prosecuted, which I think is the next step. Beyond being indicted for corruption, he should be charged to court and he should be prosecuted.
All right, so moving on to the next question. There are reports that the DSCC actually warned presidency against the nomination and, the election of Ibrahim Magu as the EFCC boss, which the presidency actually ignored. So what does this have to say? I mean, what does this say about the credibility of political appointment?
Of course, it shows that the president is indulging to him, is indulging Magu, or the president pampered and pandered to the power bloc that are pushing or that are covering Magu. I can't also forget that the vice president, when he was acting president sometime in 2017, also spoke in defense of Magu and said as long as he's the acting president, Magu is not to be removed. The damning report of corruption around Magu and that's also associated with the vice president shows that there are some power bloc within the presidency that are covering for Magu. And of course, it should not end here. The panel that is investigating him should also bring out all his corrupt practices to the book, and so that Magu should be prosecuted, like I always said. But it's a sad day that the president overindulged Magu, and it's also a dint on his integrity, and also a dint on the anti-corruption fight held by Mr. President Muhammad Buhari.
All right, so moving on to the next question. How vital is the role of DSS, and other law enforcement agency in political appointments?
Of course, their role is as spelled out by the National Security Agency Act, that they are involved or they are saddled with the responsibility of looking out for corrupt elements, checking out the profiles of political appointees. So the DSS should always do a rundown, a background check of those who the president wants to appoint in future, be it head of parastatals, be the head of judiciary, or be the head of any agency. So these people should be beyond board. We should know that they are clean as water or clean as snow. When they come into the body, they're able to perform their functions without fear or favor, and there will be no snag or no dint or no iota of any drawback in them. So the DS has a huge role to play in running the background check on political appointees.
All right, sir. So moving on to the last question for today. I want to ask this question. Does the DSS have the right to effect the arrest of the EFCC chairman, the EFCC boss himself? Because they actually said, they didn't arrest him, that he was only called for questioning, but he has been detained for 2 days now. So do you think they have the right to, effect the arrest of such person?
The degree or act establishing the FCC do not give them the power to make any arrest. It's not within the purview of the DSS in accordance with the National Security Agency Act that established them to go or arrest any officers. I think in that aspect they are wrong. The Attorney General of the Federation should have used other security agencies like the police to effect the arrest of Mr. Magu, as is not above the law. So the DSS should always act in accordance within the law, within the purview of the law. It should not go outside to act contrary to the law. Because Nigeria is not a banana republic and everybody should do things in accordance with the law.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Sam, for joining me again on another episode of Insight. I know it's a pleasure having you here in the studio.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure coming online. It's my pleasure.
All right, guys, that will be all for today. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Insight on AllNews Nigeria TV. And I still remain your host, Praise Gani. You do well to like this video, drop your comments on the issues discussed here, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.